Hello, Be Awesome listeners. This is Joshua Peach with episode 51 of the Be Awesome podcast. And this is I think, one of the greatest people that I'm going to have on my podcast, partly because he's known me my entire life, 45 years young. And tomorrow he will be celebrating his 90th birthday. I'm sorry I had to give it away, sir, after all these years. But I have with me today Joe Mulkey, who is the founder of Gloria Stevens Figure Salons. For those of you that are familiar with it, you're as old as I am. For those of you that are not familiar with it, it actually started on April 8th of 1970 and grew to become a massive all-women's figure salon in the 70s and 80s with over 1 million members. And Mr. Mulkey has been kind enough to share some of his story with me. And he actually shared a lot of his story with me by giving me his 3-ring binder of all of his leadership and training manuals that he had back in November, which I cherish and have with me that I look at every single day. So, Mr. Mulkey, first and foremost, welcome to the Be Awesome podcast. I know this is your first podcast, so this will be hopefully a fun experience for you.
Well, thank you, Josh.
And happy day before your 90th birthday. Many people don't know this, but I just found out how old you were in the last couple of years, because as people are going to see what might be thought of as a stereotypical 90-year-old, you are not that. You were still.
I thought it was 39. Tiny.
Yeah. You're still out dancing, and you still have it all together. So. You told me something real interesting the other night that I didn't realize and didn't think about, which was, you started a business right at the beginning of what was potentially going to be a depression, kind of like a lot of what people are feeling right now. What were you thinking about back then, and kind of what were your thoughts as far as, opportunity for success and starting a new business, especially a figure salon? At that time in your life, you were, 40 years old, a lot of uncertainties. What was that kind of like for you?
Well, first of all, you have to work whether there's a depression or not. And it turns out that figure salons and things of that type do quite well.
Yeah.
Like dance studios do well during the depressions. People, they're looking for an escape. And yeah. That's exactly what that is.
Well, now tell a little bit about Gloria Stevens. Where did it come from? How did it grow? How many members? How many employees? What did you started with? You started with one salon, and where did it go from there?
Well, we started with one, but I have to be honest with you. I got into that business because I had a partner who owned 51% of the business, and he wanted to sell, so I really had no choice. And I had met a friend in Canada, in Toronto, that was in the figure business, and he talked me into going into it. And very shortly after we opened the first one, which is in Brockton in 1970, he left. He was from Toronto, and he left his wife and went to South America.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 2 months after we started, and I actually depended on him to run the business. And I told him, I said, "Look, you've got me into something I know nothing about." He said, "Well, I'll send you a young man who does, and he'll help you." And his name was John Martin. And he was very young, but he was very good. And I did learn a lot from him. And we became partners for a short time. But he was much younger than me, and he wanted to go out west. And so he sold his half to another person by the name of Howard Alford. And so Howard and I think by that time we had 4 locations when Howard came in. And it seemed like a business that it would be easy for people to get into. And we sold a few of them, and it didn't turn out too good because the people that didn't know the business didn't do well in it.
Mm-hmm.
from then on, all of our new franchisees were people who were already in the company, and we knew what they could do, and they knew what they were doing. So that's how it got started, and it continued to grow on a pretty rapid basis.
And you were the I guess founder CEO from 1970 to early 1980s.
82, yes.
Okay, and then
actually,
go ahead.
Actually 13 years. I think it was almost 30 or 83.
Yeah, and how large was the company by the time you when you stepped away?
We had I believe it was 178 locations. We had them all the way across the country, but they were mostly in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
We did have them in the state of Washington and so on.
And was I right? You had about 1 million members? Was that
about 1.5 million?
Wow, 1.5 million members.
I think it was I believe it was in '78 that we had a big party celebrating our millionth member. So that was in the late '70s. But by the time I left the business, we did have about 1.5 million.
Wow. So in 1978, the total population was 222,600,000. So you had just under 0.5% of the total population, and you only catered to women. That is amazing.
You're pretty good at your math there, Josh.
Well, it's Google is an amazing thing. I just went on the internet and I did a quick search for the United States population, 1978. They gave me a nice little bar graph, and I started doing some fuzzy Friday math to figure it out. So, but that's pretty darn impressive that you got.
Well, it was growing really very rapidly in the latter part from the last part of the 1970s, first part of the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
I think we opened 50 locations, I think, in the last couple of years.
Wow.
So it was growing rapidly.
And you obviously had challenges and difficulties like anybody does today. And, you made probably one of the best statements that anyone has made over the course of the last 3 weeks when I said that you were on the verge of a depression in 1970. And you said, well, people still have to work in a depression. In reading your 3-ring binder, which I haven't shared with everyone in the world, nor do I plan on it, that seems to be kind of your mindset is, it doesn't much matter what's going on, depression, recession, oil embargo, whatever it is. You've always kind of had this mindset of, not to take away from the Patriots, but do your job, get to work. Where did that mindset come in, or how did you have it, or is it just ingrained in you from birth?
Well, no, actually, I just, if you got a business, you can't think of all the reasons why it's going to fail. You have to think of all the reasons why it will succeed, and people still have to exist even during the Depression, but they just, the choice of things that they're interested in varies. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
And the dance business does very well during the Depression because people are looking for an escape. And the same thing was true with Gloria Stevens.
And you just did a dance competition recently, right? You're still actively dancing, ballroom dancing and things. You did a exhibition not too long ago, didn't you?
Well, yeah, and it went over very well because of my age, not because of my dancing ability.
I have to say, you're probably being a little bit too hard on yourself. I don't think they'd keep asking you to come back to these things and dance if it was just because of your age. But no, I heard it was. My mom went, obviously, and my mom was telling me about it, and it sounded like it was a great event. One of the things that I find interesting about you and knowing you my whole life, and really getting to know you over the course of the last 20 years, as far as something that's sticks with me, is the importance of hobbies with you. whether it's, and I don't want to call dance a hobby, but your art is definitely a hobby because it obviously wasn't a full-time job. Do you think having those outlets and something else outside of business is important? What do you think you think that's had an impact on your mindset and attitude? I think a lot of people have anxiety and worry, and they're just, they're either working or they're worrying, which that's a saying that the founder of Dude Solutions' mother used to say, which is you can work or you can worry, but you'd be foolish to do both. Do you think that plays a factor?
Well, I went into the dance business. I was in a service. I was too young to go into a bar, so we joined Arthur Murray's. And there's another friend of mine, and he dropped out after 5 lessons, but I just stayed with it. And when I got out of the service, started to school, I needed a job, and I applied. I was walking down the street in Kansas City, Missouri, and I saw a sign that says "Help Wanted." And I went in, and they were hiring people to train, and so I already had a little bit of experience, and they hired me. And I taught all the way through college. And after I got out of college, I chose an art field. And I loved it, except you do have to make a living. And in the art field, you don't make a living, at least not a good one. So eventually I went back into the dance business, and it was something that I enjoyed tremendously.
Yeah.
And it was good training for me for Gloria Stevens.
Yeah. So you didn't have any real. Did you go to school for business? I mean, were you did you? How did you make? I mean, it's just.
Well, my father was in business. He was in the grocery business, and I always worked there for him. Mm-hmm. And I just always liked business. Still do. Too old to do it, but I still like it.
Well, I think you have a lot to offer. You give me a whole lot of insight. As a matter of fact, I'm going to read this from your book, which is your first page, and it's on May 29th, 1979. And it's titled, "What Makes a Winner?" To a loser, it's a good location. It's the lack of competition. It's being in a better per capita income area. It's just plain dumb luck. But the winner knows better. Winning is doing a lot of things better than other people. It's doing things that will not pay off in money right away, but will pay off in goodwill. It's believing in yourself, and it's believing in your company. It's teamwork and enthusiasm, and it's just plain hard work. It's having a positive mental attitude. It's all about your past training, and of course, it's endurance. It's earned loyalty from your members paying off now in dividends to you. It's playing down your weak points and building on your strengths and knowing the difference. It's not underestimating your rivals. It's knowing you are good. But excuse me. But knowing there are others out there that want to prove they are better. It's having a leader like Sally Weaver that you can look up to and want to please and emulate. It's making winning the most important thing in the world when you are in the race. In short, it's being champions. You're Gloria Stevens women, and I'm proud of you to be a member of the same team that you are. That's a pretty powerful opening statement to your book here that you gave me.
Well, for many people think it's the right location and it's all of this, and really it's more the person who's doing it than anything else. To give you an example, there was a salon in Connecticut, and I had sold it to this woman who had not been in that business, but she had a beauty salon. And she bought it, and within a very, very short time, she was claiming the town was wrong and everything about it was wrong. And the people in this town don't want to exercise, or they're not interested in it. Anyway, to make a long story short, I called her up, asked her to come into the office. And I already had a check written out for her, and I bought it back. And I put another young lady in it that I had met only the previous Monday. And I was impressed with her, and I called her in and asked her if she would be interested in owning a salon. And she said, well, I would, but I don't have any money. And I said, well, I'll finance it. And I put her in this location that the previous owner said was absolutely the worst town there was. And within less than 2 years, she was number 2 in the entire chain. So it's not the location, it's the person who's running it and their attitude, and especially the kind of people they're hiring.
Yeah.
You don't run a business. You may run it, but you don't really make the thing go. It's the people that you've got working for you. And if you hire the right people, you're going to be successful in almost any area. There's exceptions, of course, but very, very few. Very few businesses go out of business because of the wrong location and the wrong town and so on. It's because you're not, it's the wrong business person.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of, it's funny. I get asked fairly regularly about, my mindset and my thoughts on business and the importance that I put on people. And I really think that falls in line with the people that have been around me my entire life, like you, that have put such an emphasis and such an importance on the people, not the product, not the place, but the people. And having the right people in place can make the location convenient, even if it's inconvenient, and it can make the product that much better, even if there might be something that might be better. They won't have the people behind it that are better. And that's been something that I have tried to hold true to my entire professional career. And when I was reading this binder, I was like, wow, even though I was probably 4 or 5 when you were displaying a lot of these leadership traits, they rubbed off on me. So thank you for that, first of all. But I truly believe in everything that you've got in this binder in regard to that, and that the fact that the people are the champions. It's definitely not the location and all the other stuff. So,
well, that's true.
So, you're coming into the time when you need to learn how to figure out what you want to do when you grow up. Here, getting ready to celebrate a birthday. But you probably have some advice. What advice would you give to folks out there today in the workforce, or people that, are hesitant to take a leap, or, what learning lessons or advice would you might want to give to someone that you think might help them today and tomorrow?
Well, we always talked in Gloria Stevens. There was the MED method. And that was motivational exercise and diet. But the motivation is very, very important, because without that, the exercise and the diet is going to go nowhere. And it's that positive mental attitude that you have to have in any business. If you think you're going to fail, you're going to fail. If you think you're going to succeed, you got a much better chance. I've known some of the people that were very much involved in Gloria Stevens, such as you mentioned Sally Weaver a while ago. She was one of the top operators of all of our clinics, and she then went to Connecticut, I believe, or New York, someplace, and she ended up buying a leotard factory that was about to go out of business, and they only had 50 employees. A few years later, she had 500 employees and sold the business for several $1 million. So, businesses do well in most cases, not because of the time of the year or the economy or anything. It's because of the person who's operating it and their attitude. And, of course, hiring the right people, because you don't ever make a business go. It's your employees.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get the right people, and you have to motivate them. You have to let them know you appreciate them.
Yeah, I probably should have known that was a real person's name, Sally Weaver, and I don't know if she's still out there, but Sally Weaver, there's a free plug for you for being a excellent performer, and congratulations on your successful leotard business that you sold. That's
I speak to her quite frequently.
Oh, do you? Well, I'll make sure make sure we get a copy of this to her, and she can listen to the accolades of it. Well, I talked to you a couple of times about this, and I just wanted to, this podcast right now, I'm doing every day that people can listen to, which is really showcasing local businesses, local business people, and local individuals that are making a difference and trying to stay positive in this really uncertain, difficult, challenging, chaotic time, COVID-19 quarantine. And when I talked to you earlier this week, I was like, man, I gotta have Mr. Mulkey on so I can share a little bit of his thoughts and him with the world. And I really appreciate you taking some time here today. Well, first of all, I appreciate our friendship and everything that you've taught me over the years, and this incredible gift that you chose to give to me, of all people, that I'll cherish forever, which is all of your thoughts, ideas, inspirations, and writings. It's been incredibly impactful for me. Like I say, I look at it daily. As a matter of fact, as you can't see this because it's on video and I'm dialed into you on the phone, but it's literally right next to my keyboard. But I appreciate you taking some time today to share a little bit of the Gloria Stevens history, the mindset, the importance of continuing on and carrying through, regardless of what the economy tells you or anybody else, that there is a great opportunity to be successful, and that I hope you get some cake tomorrow and enjoy your 90th birthday. You give something for me to strive to, which is to make it to 90 and be able to remember all this stuff like it's no big deal. So any parting words, advice, thoughts that you might want to share?
No, I think I've shared it. Just think positive and believe it in yourself, and that you can do it.
Yeah. Well,
you're gonna have a lot of people telling you all the negative things that they can.
Yeah.
And you've got to learn to ignore those and think positive.
So you mean there were people in your world that actually said that you weren't going to make it, or you weren't going to be successful, or you weren't going to do all the things that you did?
Oh, of course. You always hear negative things from people.
You just ignore it? Ignore the noise?
You have to make up your own mind and know if it's possible, then you can probably do it.
Well, I think those are good parting words, my friend. Thanks for taking the time here. Like I said, happy birthday to you. I look forward to many, many more. I'll be calling you to celebrate Gloria Stevens, what would be 50th anniversary on April the 8th. And just stay safe out there and stay in for a while. It's a crazy, crazy world out there right now.
It certainly is.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I will catch up with you tomorrow to wish you a happy birthday on the official day.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you, Josh.
All righty. We'll talk to you soon. And that will wrap us up here for the Be Awesome podcast. I really am so honored to have Mr. Mulkey in my life as a friend, as a mentor, as someone that has shared a lot with me on how to do business right and how to be a good person. So hopefully you got something out of that. He's an inspiration, turning 90. It's Friday. He's turning 90 tomorrow. And if in the meantime, again, if there's anybody that wants to come on, I've got a couple of folks lined up for next week. My goal is to do this every single day that I possibly can with people that are pushing through, persevering, and keeping things going through this unprecedented, difficult, challenging time that is known as the COVID-19 quarantine, I think we're calling it. So I'm going to wrap it up, go have a quarantini. And as always, if you can do ratings, reviews, likes, shares, followers, I want to grow this. I didn't spend a lot of time growing this in the first 2 years. I want to grow it, expand it. And, if I have to be socially distanced from my people that I typically get to talk to and try to shed some insight and inspiration, I want to be able to do it on other channels to spread a broader reach. And if you do those ratings and reviews, especially on the Apple podcast channel, I will be happy to send you a t-shirt. So send me an email, josh@beawesome.com. That's JOSH@BEAUSM.com. And in the meantime, if you can be anything, be awesome.